Welcome to my tutorial video. In this video we are going to high availability in the vSphere. In this we create a new cluster, add EXI hosts to that cluster, then check the vSphere high availability, vSphere cluster resource usage, manage vSphere high availability slots, and configure HA cluster with strict admission control. What is the high availability? Whenever one EXI host goes down and the virtual machine on that EXI is transferred to the another EXI host, it's the high availability. It restarts the backward conversion machine. For this we require the vSphere administration username and password. 2 or more EXI hosts, shared data storage, vMachine enabled on both the EXI host and 2 or more virtual machines. Now we're going to create a new cluster and add EXI hosts to that cluster. For this we should have to log in with the administration and then go for the hosts and cluster, right click on your data center and then create a new cluster, then type the name of the new cluster, then enable the tick mark on the vSphere high availability and then select the percentage of the cluster resources reserved as a failover spare capacity, then click OK. Also I already have here, so that's why I'm going to cancel it. To add the EXI hosts to that cluster, just drag and drop it. It enables the cluster. If it shows an error, we can discuss it later. Here we can see that in the summary, here we have the master storage. In my case I have a 84 master storage .84 machine, and here I have a 3 virtual machines in it. Now we're going to check the heartbeat of the cluster. Here I have a 1 shared storage with the 2 EXI hosts. Now to remove the error, we go to the management settings, the network settings of the each EXI and tick mark on the management traffic and then click OK, and same as in the another EXI host. Now to reconfigure it, we just right click on it and all the centers and reconfigure the vSphere HA. Now check the vSphere HA high availability. For this we should have to check each virtual machine that exists on which host. The Chevy 009 exists on 84 and other 2 exists on 85. Now we're going to reboot the 84 host. Write any reason whatever you like. So the Chevy 009 is on the 84 and it is the master host. Now we can check then the cluster and show the events. Here we can see the events that shows the alarms that particular host goes down and that virtual machines on that host is also have problem. Now we check the another working host and goes on the related objects and check the virtual machines. Here we can see that after few minutes we can see the Chevy 009 is working on the another host. Now in the summary of the cluster we can see the 85 becomes a master host. Now we go to the vSphere. Now we're going to check the vSphere cluster resource uses. For this we just go simply to the cluster and then resource allocated, and here we can see the CPU of the cluster, how much its total capacity or reserved capacity, whatever we like to say. We can also check it on each of our virtual machines. Just click on virtual machines. Here our virtual machine uses the 25 MHz used with 1 CPU. The another virtual machine uses the 200 MHz with 1 CPU. Now we go to the memory of the cluster. Here we can see that total memory is 2.5 gigabytes and reserved is 1.3 gigabytes. Now we're going to manage the vSphere HA slot size. For this we just go to the cluster and then right click and go to settings and vSphere HA settings and edit it and go for the admission control. Now we select the cover all the power or failures and then go to the monitor vSphere summary. Here we can see the slot size. Total slots are 104, used 3, available how much, and the failover 52. Now we're going to edit the settings of a virtual machine or any of the virtual machine, whatever you like. Edit the CPU settings and the reservation. We just put the 512 MHz in the reservation. We just reserve this much clock speed on that particular machine and going to refresh it. Here we can see the slot size becomes 512 MHz. Total slots are 10 and used 3, available 2, failover 5 slots. It is changing of the machine to machine whatever the working on this one. Now going to edit the settings and then edit. Now we're going to change the admission control. In this we use the fixed slot size. Here we put the 300 megahertz in the CPU slot size. Here we can say that one machine requires more than one slot, and it's the Chevy 09 because we already put the 512 megahertz in this one, and then click OK. Now we can see that there is the 300 megahertz. Here we have a total 17 slots, used 4, available 4, failover 9. Now we go for the another virtual machine, in the cluster, and then go for edit settings, and then put them in the previous stage as it is. Put the cover all power on virtual machine failures. Now we edit the settings of the virtual machine as well as, and put the 0 in the reservation for some further task. Now we configure the edges cluster with the admission control. For this we just have to go for the cluster and the related objects, and then turn off the virtual machines, all of our virtual machines. I just skipped some steps. As we can see that it's the easy to turn off virtual guest house. Here we can see that all the virtual machines are powered off. For this, now we can go for the cluster and then check the summary. Here we see the memory is 8 gigabytes and CPU is 9.53 gigabytes. Now we can check on the each of our host. Here we have the 4 gigabytes memory and the 4.53 gigabytes, and another one also have a 4 gigabytes memory. Now in the lab cluster we can see the free space is 5.52 gigabytes and use is 2.48 gigabytes. And on another host we have the 2.73 gigabytes free space and used 1.24, because we already have turned off all our virtual machines, but the guest operating system, or we can say the EXI host operating system, requires some memory, so it uses that kind of memory. In the memory we can use 2.47 gigabytes, and there is no reserved capacity because all of our virtual machines are shut down, so there is no reserved capacity. Now we're going to edit the settings of a virtual machine, and here in the memory we just put the reservation as the 384 MB. We can put whatever you like. Now there is no reserved capacity. It doesn't show any total slots not available, not used, because all our virtual machines are turned off. Now we're going to turn on the virtual machine that we recently added. Now here we power on the virtual machine, and after refresh we can see that the slot size becomes the 32 megahertz and 408 MB, and the total slots are 6, used 1, available slots 2, failover 3. It requires some more because we put the 382, but it requires that particular size plus little bit more MB, and it becomes 408. In the same way we're just going to turn on all of our virtual machines, and after refresh we can see that there are total slots 6 and used 3 and available slot 0 and failover 3. If I have any other virtual machine and going to turn it on, it shows an error because there is no available slot in it here. It definitely shows an error. See you later. Bye bye.